Hello everyone, welcome to Saturn in the 6th house of your chart. I'm using the Vedic system, but it's suitable also for Western charts, as long as you have Saturn 6 signs away from your ascendant. This can also be read from the moon sign. If you are new to my channel, sub below and let's start. So, when Saturn is placed in the 6th house of your chart from ascendant or moon, it's a powerful Saturn for good in your life. Saturn aspects by third aspect the 8th house of sudden events, accidents, the 12th house of loss, expenses, and foreign lands, and the third house of siblings and skill base. So, let's explore the deep meaning of this Saturn position. What is the 6th house all about then? The 6th house is the house of everyday chores, worries, concerns, the things that distract us from the pleasures of life, basically. It's about our health issues. It's about competitors. It's about rivals, those that are open. It's about litigation. It's about lawsuits. It's about people who work for us, like servants, or who work under us in our work situation, or indeed just our co-workers. It's also about small animals that are in our home and therefore they demand our attention. So all of these things are the necessary chores that we have to take care of. Saturn is limitation, delay, restriction. Therefore, you would think that Saturn would really be bad here. He would create more health issues, more competition, more difficulties, but that's not the case. In the Vedic system, we know that the malefic planets like Saturn, Mars, Rahu revel in being in these sort of houses, in these Dusana houses, particularly the 6th house, because they deal with these issues well. Whether you will have a lot of health issues and competition and so on, you've got to check where the ruler has gone of this house. But even if you do have those by your karma, you will deal with them magnificently well, particularly when Saturn is alone here. Saturn does so well when he is alone, and particularly when he is in a very strong sign like Aquarius, Capricorn, and Libra. But even if Saturn isn't so well placed by sign, I'm going to give you one example of that soon. He still does well over time. It just takes more of a struggle. So, why is Saturn particularly good? Because of the Upachaya aspect. You see, Upachaya houses mean that they get better over time, but it's little understood why they get better over time. The 6th house gets better over time because when you deal with your health issues rather than ignoring them, when you deal with the conflicts swiftly, simply, you feel better. You get better at doing it. You get better over time. You get more skilled, and therefore it has a good result. So does Saturn here mean that you won't have any health issues or competitors or rival? Not at all. But it doesn't he doesn't bring them of his own self. That depends on where the ruler has gone on the aspects to the 6th house, okay? But Saturn is going to deal with them so well that he frees up your life from so much worry and concern. That's why Saturn is so good. And when I explain the aspects to Saturn, it will become even more clear. So a good example, I would just like to bring this in, if you don't mind, listeners, is Boris Johnson. You see, Boris Johnson has Saturn in his multicone sign of Aquarius in the 6th house alone. And he's a perfect example of someone who has benefited from Saturn in the 6th house. Now, Saturn in such a strong sign is very good karma, and in the 6th house, more good karma because it's effective for him. So I've got a video on my channel, have a check of that where I've talked about this. But you see, Boris Johnson has dealt with rivals and competitors all of his life so easily and so deftly. If this was seen in, of course, the last election, but far more before that as Mayor of London. He became Mayor of London twice as a Conservative, unheard of against very well-liked competitors. You see, Saturn here gives you that touch that you can just defeat enemies, open enemies, with a feather. You don't even have to do anything. So that's one good example. Another example of Saturn taking a longer time to deal with conflict is the Brexit situation, because that leave vote happened with Saturn in Scorpio in the sixth house. And we know that it took years for that to eventually happen in any form, with enormous amount of conflict and disturbance and court cases and so on. But in the end, after all of that, Saturn in Scorpio was successful in achieving its goal. Finally, Saturn, of course, has an impact on your personality and how you deal with the world as well. Saturn in the sixth makes you a tremendous hard worker. You enjoy work. You enjoy getting to grips with the chores of everyday life. In your work situation, you may be a bit stern sometimes with your co-workers or your people who are working under you, but you would have to look at other aspects and so many other factors to see that. But you are fair and you are ethical, and that's the key thing because Saturn is so strong here. You may also have karmic links with your pets because small animals that we have these days are mostly pets, and therefore they are coming in by your past karmas to often be of an absolute great benefit to you. So let's now move on to consider the important aspects of Lord Shani in the sixth house. So first of all, Saturn's third aspect is on your eighth house. This is a good thing to happen. The eighth house is such a troublesome house for so many of us. For you, Saturn is destroying many of the difficulties. What Saturn does is he doesn't absolutely take them away because you have to look at the sign involved, planets in the house, and where the Lord has gone, as always. But still, long-term, Saturn favors you in difficult, traumatic situations that may or may not occur. By the mercy of Lord Shani, you may even be saved from many difficulties. You may be the one who is saved in a very traumatic situation. That can be seen sometimes. But what it really means is that you deal with hidden aspects of life. The eighth house is those hidden undercover aspects very well. You may have an interest in the occult by this aspect too, and you gain from that interest. You're a bit of a detective, a bit of a spy actually with this Lord Shani. You gain information which is hidden and not known, and this benefits you. So all in all, it's a very beneficent third aspect for you. It gives you a good money sense and it makes you a good business person. You could go into medicine also because it's the house of surgery, or as I've just been talking about quite a lot, into law as well. Next is Saturn's aspect on your 12th house by his 7th aspect. This is also mostly very fortunate, but there is one or two issues. First of all, Saturn here is good for your expenses and for loss. You curb expenses. In fact, Saturn in the 6th is good for money issues generally because of the 8th and 12th house aspect here. Saturn helps you to deal well with your finances. You deal very well. You curb expenses. You get good control, basically, of any difficulties in your money concerns. The second thing is that this is about rivals which are secret. So open rivals you easily defeat. Over time, you also defeat the secret rivals. You find out who they are. You're actually a very good detective with this Lord Shani. You get underneath whatever is going on and you find out other people's secrets. So you're not a very good person for people to be around who they want to pull the wool over the eyes. You get behind what people are saying. You understand that's the third aspect here, what people are really meaning, because the 8th house also is the house of hidden things. Okay, so yeah, you're not an easy person to deceive in any way. Any concerns in your relationships also from rivals, because this is the 6th house, you see, from your 7th house, secret enemies of your relationship are also destroyed. You are able to deal with them and stop the harm to your relationship. Finally, though, foreign lands. Yes, Saturn's definitely going to attract you to foreign lands and to foreign travel by this 12th house aspect here. But what's going to happen is, you see, going into a foreign land in itself is not a difficulty. Saturn destroys the difficulties. But going into foreign lands isn't a problem in itself. So therefore, Saturn can make a problem with it. That's what tends to happen. So You may have some difficulties either going to foreign lands, traveling to foreign lands. It doesn't go as smoothly as you would like, or you just have difficulties being there. But again, because of Saturn's strength, you overcome these difficulties with time. Last of all, but not least, is Saturn's 10th aspect on your third house of skill base, of communication and siblings. Saturn's going to be very important here because you see, the 10th aspect is very strong. People say the third is the most, seventh then, and then the 10th is not going to bother you. I haven't found that in any way. I found the 10th aspect becomes very immediate and lasting. It's something which you always have to deal with. But it may become, it's true, perhaps less of a direct impact than the third and the seventh in its difficulty, but it's still going to cause you some concern. So, siblings, you're going to have intense rivalry, competition concerns that really are there all of your life. They don't seem to go away with childhood. So you have to look at the Lord, of course, and the sign involved here, and that will give you more detail. But they're going to be there. Next thing is skill base. Now, Saturn here is going to give you some difficulties actually. Gaining skills, acquiring skills. Now, this could be any sort of skills. It could be how you are in school, how your communication skills are, presentation skills, writing, reading, all of that stuff. You have a few hiccups in that stage of your development, okay? And it continues. I've seen people have some speech problems with this sixth house as well. It can be really big or not so big, but you have a difficulty sometimes being understood. That can happen. It could simply be language that is the issue for you also. Saturn here is also about media concerns. So if you have a job that is working in any media outlet, well, you may be very attracted to the media actually. It's about journalism, media, all of that. You're very attracted to those areas. Then you're going to attract a lot of competitors there. But once again, despite what you attract, over time, you deal well with those issues. Okay, so I hope that was useful to you all and gave you good information. If you are new to my channel, please sub below, and coming up soon, more videos on Vedic astrology and indeed all aspects of astrology. Goodbye for now, and God bless everyone.